To whoever reads this, my name is Christopher Portman. I write this correspondence by hand because I no longer trust any technology more complex than pen and ink. If you found this, it means that I am missing, or worse. I've never been a man who was famous enough to be worth more than a blurb in the Wall Street Journal, but I've made a career out of investing. Those who have hated me have called me a vulture investor as well as a charlatan, but I've always thought of myself as simply a smart opportunist, although every businessman may define the word opportunity differently. I am now about halfway through a 1-year sentence that placed me under house arrest. Again, this is where my terms may differ from yours. What the judge called embezzlement, I have always referred to as simply good business. But none of that matters anymore. One of the more clever ploys that decorated my illustrious career has been to, essentially, commandeer the websites of small businesses, procuring the URLs, domains, and everything else. Doing this has always been difficult, and it involved my knowledge of legal technicalities as often as it required the usage of several hackers I have employed. How I would profit from this was even more questionable. Usually I had fun reveling in the challenge of domineering another person's meticulously built website and turning it into my own profit. The times that were less enjoyable involved me showing weakness and feeling some guilt or even sympathy for the poor saps whose websites I had broken, beaten, and taken as my own. I now believe the pestilence that began to plague me all started with an event 2 years ago. There was an artist, a painter. He was never truly famous, but he had something of a cult following for his, shall we say, more macabre masterpieces. The rumor was that he was able to create works of such delicious horror by blending dark magic with his paint, by mixing sorcery with art. It's not something I believed in at the time. After all, this man sold his art mainly online. It never followed that some evil spellcaster would have as his most prized possession a website that was decorated with his art. Not that I believed in any such magic to begin with. After I used one of my older, more reliable scams to trick him into letting me buy his website, he began to harass me incessantly. The scam in question involved carefully written legal speak, coupled with a clever ploy to disguise myself as a hosting company. Usually, my victims would try a civil suit against me, or simply move on, but this fool insisted on taking it so personally. "My soul is in that website," he said to me in emails, written correspondence, and voicemails. When he managed to get my number, he kept repeating it. "You don't understand. My soul is in that website. Give it back to me or you will suffer greatly. Give it back to me or it will put you into hell itself." No matter what kind of gypsy mumbo-jumbo or voodoo he tried to scare me with, I was not dissuaded from occupying his site and making more than a few dollars off the ad revenue. His harassment would eventually become so incessant that, in my anger, I decided it would be funny to start hosting his website myself on my most faulty server. This caused his website to crack multiple times per day and forced him to watch helplessly with embarrassment as the venue for his art became a laughingstock among those in the digital painting community. Of course, I actually lost money by doing this, but the only thing I enjoyed more than making money is to lose money in the process of torturing someone who irritated me. Sometimes it's worth losing a little bit of profit when it buys you revenge. The website itself was bizarre. None of the art, navigation, or even language made much sense. It contained rambling, incoherent sentences in Latin that Google revealed to me were from some ancient burial ceremonies. There was strange and disturbing art, some of which was almost cartoonish, while other bits were photorealistic, as if they had been taken from life. I never really saw what the point of the website was or why it had a growing, albeit secretive, following of fans. Maybe it was because the artist was also a local to Hagerstown, or because of the rumors and whispers associated with it. But for some reason, I had always found myself drawn back to the site. I may not have been superstitious, but I could still enjoy the mystique of the eerie and otherworldly, however artificial it may be. With no family and few friends I can rely on, all of my entertainment during this house arrest, which had already felt like an eternity, has been through the Wi-Fi on my laptop, or the headlines I see in the daily news that arrives on my doorstep. It was only recently that things began to feel different. By chance, I happened to look through the obituaries that morning, and there I saw it. The name of the man whose livelihood I had stolen, and whose superstitious following I had mocked for their incredulity and foolishness. Except for being mildly amused, it didn't much matter to me that he was dead. I still owned the digital rights to much of his work, and even locked within the cage that is my home, benefited financially from it. Perhaps some part of me was sentimental after all, but I checked the website as soon as I saw his name in the paper. It had crashed. How long had it been down for? I was no longer using the faulty internal server. After I had finished with my torture of that poor devil, I had moved the website back to a reliable cloud service upon realizing how profitable the banner ads were. I called the company that hosted the website and managed the cloud that supported it. The call center rep kept repeating the same asinine thing to me. "It looks like it's up, sir. It should be working." I demanded to speak with management and their Tier 3 team. That's when the strangest thing I had seen happened. I shared my screen with some wire jockey who promised to investigate the issue. He seemed to see my desktop and browser just fine, but then after entering the correct URL, I heard his voice saying, "It seems to be working fine, sir. I'm able to navigate your website without any problem. Are you able to see the cursor, sir?" "Sir?" I hung up the phone. The only thing on my screen was an error page. The 404 message somehow landed with me in a way that caused my soul to shudder. I felt dizzy and my vision began to blur. People's eyes and minds play tricks on them, I told myself. I've simply been cooped up here too long, and it's been far too long since I've slept. I just need some food and a nap, that's all I need. I felt short of breath, and barely as fast as I could get to my bed, I collapsed and fell asleep. Nightmares plagued me. I saw cars crashing, websites crashing, lives crashing, and with each hour, a short clip of deranged visions entered my sleeping mind's eye. I saw the same two phrases appear again and again. Crash, 404, not found.
"Website not found,"
a voice suddenly whispered in my ear.
"Now we will find them, and you will forever see what we see in 14 days.
In recent days, I have become more uncertain of what is real and what is my own hallucination. Strange happenings have occurred throughout my home. I kept hearing the echo of a whisper, speaking to me in a strange tongue, only to disappear when I would turn my head to find it. I called the officer whose number I was given regarding my house arrest. He simply told me to stop complaining and trying to get attention. I insisted that I was having a serious psychological break, that I needed to be institutionalized, that something was happening to my mind. He dismissed me, saying that claustrophobia was perfectly normal under house arrest, before hanging up on me. The next day, I tried to leave the house myself. If it set off my ankle bracelet, then so be it. But it didn't. There was no beeping upon getting too close to the edge of the lawn, nor was there a call to my landline warning me to stay put. Instead, the moment I took a step off my front porch, I felt the unmistakable sensation of electrocution. This was not part of the ankle bracelet system as far as I knew. It completely incapacitated me, and I crawled back into my home, sweating from the pain. I picked up my phone and, this time, heard a recording. A perky voice repeated that phone lines are down in my area, but will be restored soon. I was not given the liberty of keeping my mobile phone. I paced and waited anxiously that whole day as I tried the landline again and again. What was happening to me? I don't remember falling asleep, but I woke up from my kitchen floor, drenched in sweat from the recurring nightmares. I found myself walking over to my computer. The soft glow of the laptop comforted me in the darkness of my home. I went to that URL I had scorned and mocked and now found myself with a growing affection for and an understanding of. I saw the pictures that had once horrified me, but which now seemed to enlighten me. I read the Latin without the aid of any translation, and knew exactly what it said. I dare not repeat the true meaning of this website. Each day since has grown stranger, and the boundaries between reality and the supernatural have blurred. It's become increasingly difficult to determine when it is day and when it is night, and whether I am awake or asleep. I write this note now, during a more lucid moment. The last 3 days in particular have grown steadily darker. I had assumed storm clouds overhead had obscured lighting from coming in, but each time I look out the window, I see only the black of an overcast night sky. Oh God, where has the sun gone? Am I losing my mind, or am I truly being dragged into the demented reality of the website that I find myself continually checking, reading, and learning from? My eyes burn. Whenever I blink, I now see an image as clear as day, an image of a tall, robed figure with pale skin and hollow eyes, empty eye sockets that I could feel staring at me over top a blank expression. The figure's arms were outstretched as if to welcome. I now keep my eyes open, since every blink is painful. It suddenly occurred to me that although I've lost count of the hours, I believe it has been 14 days since I first heard the ominous voice whisper in my ear. I will not tell you who the man was. I don't want you to find his website, my website. In fact, I implore you not to look. It may be too late for me to redeem myself, but at the very least, I can try to stop others from being condemned. Whether it is my sanity or my soul that is leaving me, I cannot say, but it has not stopped. There, I just heard a sound that sends a cold, angry chill down my spine. Even though I had unplugged it and turned off the battery, there can be no mistake. As much as I may try to deny it to myself, that was the sound of my laptop switching on by itself. I hear a whisper. I hear it calling to me. I hear the website whispering to me, inviting me to look at it, to go into it. I will go to it now. This note was found on February 25th, 2017 by Hagerstown police after noise complaints from 2 neighbors who reported hearing sounds that were like the shrieking of an animal dying or being tortured. Christopher Portman's body was found with his fingertips melted to the bone and fused to the edges of his laptop. His vocal cord had literally snapped and his lower jaw was unhinged. His eyes had been completely removed from his sockets, with no traces found, no traces of blood, almost as though the sockets were cauterized. The exact cause of death is unclear, but coroners are simply calling it heart failure. There were no signs of forced entry, but foul play has been assumed because of the strange circumstances the body was found in. Investigators are following any and all leads, starting with the one and only bookmark Mr. Portman had on his laptop's browser.